Let's be happy. Let's go away someplace.
We can't let a crazy woman drive us out.
Why not? Pride? Who cares? We could go away and never come back. What's keeping us here?
If you looked up versatility in the Hollywood dictionary, you'd probably just see a picture of Morena Baccarin's latest hairstyle. From the silk-draped corridors of a spaceship in Firefly to the high-stakes grit of Sheriff Country, she's spent 2 decades being our favorite. I know her from that actor. But her latest turn as the Sorceress? That's not just a role, it's a total metamorphosis. Buckle up, because Morena isn't just playing the game, she's rewriting the entire playbook. The Sorceress, the Sheriff, and the art of the hard pivot. Let's be real for a second. Most actors find a lane and they stay in it until the wheels fall off. If you're good at playing the quirky best friend, you play the quirky best friend until you're playing the quirky grandma. But Morena Baccarin, she doesn't just switch lanes. She's basically off-roading through genres like it's a Sunday drive. Right now, we are witnessing a career double tap that has fans absolutely floored. On one hand, you've got the ethereal, high fantasy madness of Masters of the Universe, and on the other, the dusty, blue-collar grit of Sheriff Country. It's a whiplash-inducing combo, and honestly, we are here for every second of it. First off, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the giant falcon in the room. The buzz surrounding her transformation into the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull is reaching a fever pitch. If you grew up in the 80s, you remember the Sorceress as this regal, somewhat tragic figure in a feathered headdress who stayed inside a skull-shaped castle all day. It's a tough role to pull off without looking like you're headed to a very expensive Halloween party. But the leaked stills and teaser footage of Morena? It's a total metamorphosis. She's gone full high fantasy. And the transformation isn't just about the makeup, it's the vibe. She has this way of carrying herself that feels ancient, powerful, and slightly terrifying, which is a far cry from the smirking, sarcastic characters we've loved her for in the past. Fans are obsessing over the physical details. The rumors of her spending hours in the makeup chair to achieve that otherworldly glow aren't just PR fluff. You can see it in the way she commands the screen. She's managed to take a character that could easily be a cartoon come to life and turned her into a grounded, Shakespearean figure. It's the kind of transformation that makes you realize she's not just a sci-fi actress, she's a character actor hiding in a leading lady's body. She's leaning into the theatricality of the role, using her voice and her presence to make the Sorceress feel like the actual weight of Eternia is on her shoulders. It's a massive departure from anything she's done before, and that's exactly why the internet is losing its collective mind. But wait, there's more. While she's busy protecting Castle Grayskull in a cape, she's also pivoting to become the face of a massive network procedural. Enter Mickey Fox in Sheriff Country. Talk about a vibe shift. We went from mystical bird lady of the universe to tough-as-nails law enforcement in the Deep South, faster than you can say He-Man. This is where the real amazement kicks in for the fans. In Sheriff Country, she isn't relying on CGI or elaborate headpieces. She's relying on a badge, a pair of jeans, and a look that says, "I will arrest you, and I will not feel bad about it." This role as Mickey Fox is a huge deal because it marks her official entry into the leading lady of network TV club. She's the anchor. She's the one we're following through the mud and the drama. Seeing her trade the silk dresses of her earlier career for a tactical vest is a shock to the system, but in the best way possible. It shows a level of range that most of her peers simply aren't touching right now. One day she's casting spells and looking like a literal goddess, and the next, she's investigating a crime scene in a small town. The transformation isn't just about her face or her clothes, it's about her energy. She can be the most powerful being in a room full of magic, or she can be the most grounded person in a room full of chaos. And let's be honest, it's also about the glow-up factor. Morena has this uncanny ability to age like fine wine. Actually, no, fine wine wishes it aged like her. Fans are looking at her in these 2 vastly different roles and wondering if she's found the fountain of youth somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. Whether she's under a pound of prosthetics or under the harsh fluorescent lights of a sheriff's station, she looks incredible. And that's a huge part of the fans are amazed narrative. We love a queen who can do both. We love a queen who can jump from a $200 million blockbuster to a gritty TV drama and make both look like they were written specifically for her. The beauty of this current phase of her career is that she's finally shedding the supporting player label. For a long time, she was the love interest or the mysterious ally. In Masters of the Universe and Sheriff Country, she is the main event. She is the catalyst. She is the transformation. It's like she's telling the industry, okay, I've played by your rules. Now watch me do everything at once. This duality is why the headlines are blowing up. It's not just one movie. It's a total takeover. She's capturing the imagination of the hardcore nerds and the casual TV viewers at the exact same time. So yeah, when people say they are amazed by her transformation, they aren't just talking about a new haircut. They're talking about a veteran actress who is currently hitting her absolute prime and refusing to be pigeonholed. She's making us believe in magic on the big screen and then making us believe in the law on the small screen. It's a masterclass in career management, and quite frankly, it's just fun to watch. She's keeping us on our toes, and in an industry that loves to repeat the same stories over and over, Morena Baccarin is giving us something entirely new. Before she was the law or the legend, she was the galaxy's most elegant enigma. And trust me, we need to talk about how a little show called Firefly started this whole obsession. The Cult Queen Era. Buckle up, because we're heading back to the early 2000s, a time of low-rise jeans and some of the best, and most tragically canceled, sci-fi to ever hit our screens. To understand why fans are so amazed by Morena's transformation today, you have to look at the blueprint, and that blueprint was written in the stars, specifically on a beat-up Firefly-class transport ship called Serenity. When Morena Baccarin first glided onto our screens as Inara Serra, she didn't just enter a room, she owned the air inside it. It's wild to think about now, but she was basically a rookie then. Yet, she carried herself with the poise of a 1,000-year-old queen. That Inara energy is the secret sauce she's been sprinkling on every role since. And it's why the sci-fi community basically formed a protective circle around her career from day one. Let's talk about Firefly for a second, because you really can't overstate how much of a thing this was. Inara wasn't just a love interest, she was a companion, which in the Joss Whedonverse meant she was a high society diplomat / artist / intellectual who just happened to be the classiest person in the galaxy. Morena brought this incredible soft-spoken power to the role. She could shut down Nathan Fillion's Captain Mal with a single raised eyebrow. That was the first transformation we saw, a young Brazilian-American actress turning a potentially controversial role into the emotional heart of a cult classic. Fans weren't just watching a character, they were watching a star being born in real time. Even after the show was cruelly axed, don't get me started, I'm still bitter, the cult queen crown was firmly placed on her head. But she didn't stop at being the heart of a show. Oh no, she decided to go full-blown villain. And honestly, it was a vibe. If you haven't seen her as Adria in Stargate SG-1, are you even a fan? This was a massive shift. She went from the warmth of Inara to playing the Oriki, a literal genetically engineered religious zealot with godlike powers. Talk about a glow-up into darkness. She was rocking these intense dark robes and a look that could melt lead. This is where we first saw her ability to play otherworldly, in a way that felt dangerous. She made being a galactic conqueror look, well, surprisingly chic. It was the first time fans realized she wasn't just the nice girl next door or the elegant lady. She could be the monster under your bed, provided that monster had perfect cheekbones and a chillingly calm voice. And then, of course, there was V. If you want to talk about fans being amazed, we have to talk about Anna. Morena took over the role of the leader of the visitors, and she did something truly creepy. She played an alien trying so hard to look human that it became uncanny. She cropped her hair into that iconic razor-sharp pixie cut, a physical transformation that people still talk about, and practiced this unblinking predatory stare that made your skin crawl. She was the face of a global invasion, and she did it all while looking like a high-fashion model. It was a masterclass in less is more. She didn't need CGI tentacles to be scary. She just needed a slight tilt of her head and a terrifyingly perfect smile. That's the Morena magic. She transforms from the inside out. What's really cool about this cult queen era is how it built this massive, loyal fan base that has followed her for 20 years. Sci-fi fans are like the ride-or-die friends of the entertainment world. We saw her as a diplomat, an evil goddess, and a lizard queen in human skin, and we collectively decided, yep, she can do anything. This era was the training ground. It's where she learned how to handle the heavy lifting of genre tropes while still keeping her performances grounded in something human. You can see the echoes of Adria's power and Anna's stillness in her new role as the Sorceress. It's not just a coincidence, it's a career-long evolution. Think about the sheer range of types she hit in just those 3 shows. You have the high-class romantic, Inara, the demonic zealot, Adria, and the totalitarian alien, Anna. Most actors spend their whole lives trying to land one of those iconic archetypes, and Morena just checked them off the list before she was 30. It's why the transformation talk today feels so earned. She's been shifting shapes for 2 decades. When fans see her now, they aren't just seeing a new character. They're seeing the culmination of all those different lives she's lived on screen. Also, can we just acknowledge the fandom loyalty factor? Because she leaned so hard into these cult roles, she became a staple at conventions and in the hearts of nerds everywhere. She's one of us, but, you know, way more glamorous. That connection is why every time she takes a new role, whether it's a sheriff or a sorceress, there's this immediate wave of, oh, I've loved her since Serenity. It's a rare kind of longevity. She didn't just have a 15 minutes of fame moment, she built a foundation of granite. But how do you go from ruling alien empires to winning the hearts of the 2 snarkiest men in comic book history? The Gotham and Deadpool pivot. If you thought ruling the galaxy was a challenge, try being the emotional anchor for a guy whose face looks like a topographical map of Utah and another guy who literally fights crime in a batsuit. This is where the transformation conversation gets really juicy. We're moving out of the stars and into the grime of Gotham and the fourth wall-breaking chaos of Deadpool. This era is essentially Morena Baccarin's masterclass in how to take the supporting female lead trope and absolutely kick its teeth in. She didn't just play the girlfriend, she played the equal, the conscience, and occasionally the person who was way cooler than the hero. Let's start with Vanessa in Deadpool. When she first stepped into that role, fans were like, wait, is she just going to be the damsel in distress? Absolutely not. From the second she and Ryan Reynolds started trading dark jokes and competitive trauma stories in that dive bar, we knew this was something different. Her transformation here was all about attitude. She traded the regal robes of her sci-fi past for a leather jacket and a "don't mess with me" smirk. She matched Reynolds' mile-a-minute wit beat for beat, which is basically the acting equivalent of trying to outrun a Ferrari on foot. She made Vanessa feel lived in, raw, and hilarious. Fans were amazed because she brought a grounded human heart to a movie that was essentially a vulgar cartoon. She made us care if Deadpool lived or died, purely because we wanted her character to be happy. That is a level of screen presence you just can't teach. And then, of course, there's Dr. Leslie Tompkins in Gotham. This wasn't just another role, it was a life-changing pivot. In the world of DC Comics, Leslie is usually depicted as an older grandmotherly figure. Morena transformed her into a sharp, capable, and fiercely independent medical examiner who wasn't afraid to tell Jim Gordon he was being a drama queen. She brought a sense of adult-in-the-room energy to a show that was often delightfully unhinged. Fans loved the chemistry, but here's the kicker. It wasn't just acting. The real-life transformation happened right in front of our eyes when she and her co-star Ben McKenzie fell in love for real. Talk about a fan-favorite moment. Seeing them go from on-screen partners to a real-life power couple was like watching a fairy tale unfold in the middle of a gritty crime drama. This added a whole new layer to her public persona. She wasn't just the sci-fi queen anymore. She was part of one of Hollywood's most stable, genuinely sweet couples. Fans were, and still are, obsessed with their normality. They aren't the type to be falling out of clubs at 3 a.m. They're the type to be spotted at a farmer's market with their kids. This shift from enigmatic alien to relatable power mom is a huge part of why her current transformation feels so significant. We've watched her grow up, find love, and build a life all while she was busy kicking butt on screen. But let's get back to the work, because that's where the amazement really lives. In Gotham, she had to navigate a plot that saw her go from a doctor to a virus-infected underground queen and back again. She played Dark Leslie with such terrifying precision that it reminded everyone of her Stargate days, proving that she hadn't lost that edge. She can go from saving your life with a stethoscope to ruling the Narrows with an iron fist without breaking a sweat. It showed the producers and the fans that she was ready for the heavy lifting of a series lead. She wasn't just a piece of the puzzle, she was the whole damn picture. The Deadpool and Gotham years were also where she really solidified her red carpet queen status. If you look at photos of her from this era, you see a woman who has completely come into her own. The short hair, the bold colors, the sheer confidence. She started carrying herself with a veteran energy. She stopped being the new girl and started being the person the young actors looked up to. This era bridged the gap between her cult beginnings and her current status as a mainstream powerhouse. She proved she could handle the massive pressure of a Marvel blockbuster and the grueling schedule of a 22-episode network season simultaneously. What's really fascinating is how she handled the Vanessa situation in Deadpool 2. Even when her character was temporarily sidelined, the fans revolted so loudly that the writers basically had to time travel just to bring her back for the third movie. That is the Morena effect. You don't just write her out, you don't just put her in the background. She is too magnetic for that. Whether she's playing opposite a wise-cracking mercenary or a brooding detective, she commands the space. This pivot to the superhero/comic book world was the final piece of the puzzle. It gave her the household name status she deserved. It proved she could play the straight man to a chaotic hero while still being the most interesting person in the scene. By the time she finished her run on Gotham, she had nothing left to prove. She had conquered sci-fi, she had conquered superheroes, and she had won the hearts of millions. So, when she finally decided to take on the badge in Sheriff Country and the crown in Masters of the Universe, it didn't feel like a stretch. It felt like a victory lap. But how do you balance the heavy crown of a cosmic sorceress with the everyday chaos of being a real-life superhero? The personal evolution. The real transformation fans are buzzing about isn't just Morena Baccarin's ability to switch characters, it's how she's completely transformed her platform from actress to advocate, while navigating a life that reads like a Hollywood script itself. If you want to know what makes her so grounded as the new Sheriff Mickey Fox or as the regal Sorceress, you have to look at her work with the International Rescue Committee, IRC. This isn't just some celebrity-endorsed charity where she signs a check and calls it a day. Morena has been deep in the trenches. Literally, she's traveled to places like Colombia to meet Venezuelan refugees, looking into the eyes of mothers who have lost everything and saying, "I see you." Fans are genuinely amazed by the contrast here. One minute, she's on a red carpet in a dress that probably costs more than a sedan, and the next, she's writing op-eds for Newsweek about the humanitarian crisis in South America. She's used her own immigrant background, moving from Brazil to New York as a child, to fuel a passion for helping displaced people. This metamorphosis into a global voice for the voiceless has given her an edge on screen. When she plays a protector now, whether it's of a castle or a county, you believe it because she's doing it in her real life too. It's that power couple energy she shares with Ben McKenzie, but focused outward toward the world. Speaking of Ben, can we just pause and appreciate the personal evolution that led to their marriage? This is the stuff of fan fiction, people. They met on the set of Gotham, and while their characters were dealing with Arkham Asylum escapes and supervillain viruses, they were building a real, solid foundation. Morena's life hasn't been without its hurdles. She's been incredibly open about the messy parts of life, including a very public and complicated divorce earlier in her career. Fans have watched her weather those storms with a level of grace that's frankly intimidating. Watching her transform from a young actress caught in the Hollywood gossip mill into a stable, powerful matriarch has been a journey her longtime fans have cherished. She's now a mother of 3, and she talks about the juggling act just like any other parent, except her juggling involves memorizing lines for Deadpool while making school lunches. This relatable icon phase of her life is a huge part of her current appeal. She feels like a person who has lived, and that life experience is etched into her performances. It's why her portrayal of the Sorceress feels so wise and her sheriff feels so seasoned. Her personal growth also seems to have sparked a no-nonsense approach to her career. She's leaning into roles that celebrate her heritage and her complexity. She's not just the girl anymore. She's the one calling the shots. This evolution from a Juilliard-trained newcomer to a producer and lead actress is the ultimate transformation. She's proven that you don't have to stay in the pretty face box that Hollywood tries to lock you in. You can be a mom, an activist, a wife, and a total powerhouse all at the same time. And let's be real, seeing her and Ben McKenzie together at events is the ultimate win for fans who have followed them since the OC and Firefly days. They represent a rare kind of Hollywood success story, two hard-working actors who found each other and stayed grounded. Morena's evolution into this humanitarian queen has made her fans feel like they're part of her journey. We aren't just amazed by her new roles, we're amazed by her character. She's shown us that the most important transformation isn't the one that happens in the makeup chair. It's the one that happens in your heart and your mind when you decide what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. So, when you see her on the screen in 2026, looking more confident and powerful than ever, know that it's not just lighting and camera angles. It's a woman who has navigated the highs and lows of fame, fought for people who can't fight for themselves, and built a family that keeps her feet on the ground. She's the Sorceress, the Sheriff, and the Advocate. And honestly, that's the most amazing transformation of all. The Morena Magic, a masterclass in internal transformation. What exactly is the Morena Magic? You see, anyone can put on a wig and a tactical vest, but not everyone can make you believe they've lived 10 lifetimes in both. If you look closely at her performances, from her early days at Juilliard to her current powerhouse run in 2026, there's a specific technical wizardry at play. Morena doesn't just play a character, she builds them from the marrow out. Fans aren't just amazed by her looks, they're amazed by her presence. Take her role as the Sorceress. It would be so easy to play that as a statuesque figure who just stands there and looks mystical. But Morena uses what I like to call the Inara stillness. She has this incredible ability to hold a frame without moving a single muscle, yet you can practically see the wheels turning behind her eyes. It's a regal, high-status energy that she's perfected over 20 years. In interviews, she's often talked about the discipline she learned in theater, particularly as an understudy for Natalie Portman in The Seagull. That wait-and-see patience is baked into her acting DNA. She knows that the most powerful person in the room is often the quietest. But then look at her as Sheriff Mickey Fox. The magic trick here is the pivot to the physical. To prepare for this transformation, she didn't just read the script. She went on ride-alongs with real officers in small towns. She obsessed over the little things, how a cop takes their belt off when they sit down, the weight of the boots, the specific way they hold a coffee cup during a long night shift. This is the grounded, American side of her acting style. She's often said she feels a cultural struggle between her passionate Brazilian roots and her ambitious, structured American upbringing. You can see that duality in her work. She brings the heat and the passion, but she wraps it in a layer of absolute professional cool. And let's talk about her villain vibe. Why do we love her when she's being bad? It's because she never plays a one-note bad guy. Whether it's Adria in Stargate or the criminal mastermind Elena Fedorova in The Endgame, she always finds the moral compass, however skewed it might be. She's mentioned that she didn't want to like certain scripts, but then got sucked into the complexity. That's the secret. She finds the humanity in the monster. She makes you sympathize with the person trying to blow up the world, which is a terrifyingly impressive skill. The Morena Magic is also about longevity through work ethic. She's the first to tell you that the actors who last are the ones who show up for the crew, not just the camera. She brings a no-diva energy to every set, which is why directors keep calling her back. Whether she's reprising her role as Allison in Greenland 2, Migration, or jumping back into the MCU as Vanessa, she treats every role with the same level of respect. She's a worker bee in a queen's body. Baccarin ahead. So where do we go from here? If you think the amazement has peaked, you clearly haven't been paying attention to Morena's 2026 calendar. We aren't just looking at a successful actress, we're looking at a woman who has officially become the blueprint for how to own your career at every stage. Right now, she's pulling off a hat trick that would make most agents weep with joy. She started the year surviving the apocalypse in Greenland 2. Migration, hopped over to Amazon Prime in the high-octane buddy comedy The Wrecking Crew alongside Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista, and is currently gear-shifting into the June release of Masters of the Universe. And let's not forget, Sheriff Country just secured a second season. Honestly, is she even human? Or did she actually pick up some of those sorceress powers for real? The transformation fans are seeing today is the result of Morena finally stepping into her full power. She's no longer just the sci-fi darling or the superhero's girlfriend. She's the anchor. Whether she's protecting Eternia or keeping the peace in Edgewater, she's doing it with a confidence that says she's exactly where she belongs. She's navigated the typecasting, the industry shifts, and the personal hurdles to become a singular force in Hollywood. What's next? Probably more of the unexpected. That's the beauty of the Baccarin brand. She's proven that you can reinvent yourself as many times as you want, as long as you keep that core Morena magic intact. She's the blueprint for longevity, style, and substance. The fans are amazed, sure, but mostly, we're just excited to see what face she puts on next. Because if the last 20 years have taught us anything, it's that whatever it is, she's going to make it look iconic. What do you think of this, Morena? Leave your comments below and make sure to subscribe to the channel for our future uploads.